Revenue sharing. What is it? It's a word that we get heard thrown around all over podcasts, all over different articles, different places that you read about college football. You hear it all the time. What is it? What does it mean? Revenue sharing is whenever college football makes money. Anytime it makes money, whether it's from a commercial, whether it's from the college football playoff, whether it's from a TV deal, whether it's from anything, anytime college football makes money, it is earning revenue. Revenue sharing is sharing that money with players, sharing that money with schools, sharing that money with conferences, sharing that money with anyone who needs it. Now, why is that important? Well, because college football players are not earning any of that money. College football made $1.29 billion last year. College football players saw $0 of that. Welcome to another episode of the Scoring from the 50 podcast. Been a while since I've done one of these. Been kind of busy, but I'm back and hope to make a return kind of slowly but surely. We'll kind of ramp this up into over the summer before the season, and I'll get going really deep into the college football season next college football season in the fall. But today, we are talking about college football revenue sharing and why that is important. Now, what is the biggest problem in college football revenue sharing? I'd say it's the conferences. The SEC makes $728 million a year. The SEC schools, they make $51 per year. The SEC media rights deal over the next 10 years with ESPN is worth $3 billion. SEC college football players see $0 of that. Big Ten, they make $1 billion per year. Their media rights deal, it's with Fox, CBS, NBC, it's worth upwards of $7 billion over the next 7 years. Big Ten schools, they make between $80 and $100 million per year. As it stands, players will see none of that money. $0 of that money. Imagine being someone running a conference, making that much money, knowing that no one else is going to see that money, knowing that you are being greedy, knowing that you are making so much money, more money than any of us college football fans could imagine, and you decide, nope, the players who made me this money, they get none of it. You know who puts in the most work for college football? The players. You know who spends the most money on college football? Fans. You know who's not seeing any of that money? College football fans, college football players. The two most important people of the sport, the fans and the players, see none of that money. Now fans, we don't really deserve that money. We don't put in hours upon hours and hours of work like the players do. But the players do not see any of that money. That just does not make sense to me. Now, could we possibly fix this? We could pay these players a salary. If we assumed every single college football team had 100 players, which it fluctuates between about maybe 90 and 110, if we paid them $55,000 a year, probably a pretty good salary for an average college student, anyone that, is already paying tuition and paying the school for housing, food, schools, paying for books, paying for classes. Making $55K a year would be pretty good, right? That would be $5.5 million per school, assuming they had 100 players. That would be $88 million for 16 SEC schools. Meaning that of the $700 million that the SEC gets, $88 million of that would be going to players. Right? So $88 million, that's about 10.7% of the money that SEC makes. 10.7%. For the Big Ten, that would be $99 million of the 18 Big Ten schools. That is about 6.6%. 6.6%. That is smaller than 10%. That is smaller than 7%. Just going to the players that make the money, the players that people pay millions of dollars every year to go watch play football. They don't get any of that money. Whenever it is just 6.6%. Just to pay a $55K salary? What? That does not make sense. That does not make sense. Now, why have we not done this, right? Why? This seems so simple, right? There's so much money being made. Again, 5.5 per school. 5.5? That's 6.6% of the money that a Big Ten school makes. It's 9.9% of $1 billion of all Big Ten money. Of $1 billion. If you took 9.9% of that money and gave it to the players in that conference, that would pay them $55,000 a year. If you took the $80 million, and that's the low end, Big Ten schools can make upwards of $100 million. If you just went to 80, that's 6.6% of the money from one school to pay their players $55,000 a year. 6.6. Does not make sense. Now, $55,000 a year, I feel like there's definitely players who are worth even more than that, right? What can we do for them? We could do what NIL was intended for. What was NIL intended for? It was intended for players to get paid for their name, image, and likeness. So they can go be in a car commercial. They could be on a shoe. They could be in a magazine. They could be on a poster. They could make money off the jerseys that they sell. If I bought a J.J. McCarthy jersey, he would not see any of that money. Under my proposed plan, he would. Why don't we pay him for that? On top of making $55,000 a year. That way, we can outlaw these big, giant NIL collectives just paying their players to go play. Right? Take Jaden Rashada, for instance. $13.6 million NIL deal with Florida. Falls out from underneath him. Of course it does. $13.6 million? You're not going to get paid that in college. That's just not going to happen. Falls out. Goes to Arizona State. Starts some games here and there, right? It was kind of between him and another player to see if he would be the full-time starter. This spring transfer portal, just a couple weeks ago, he enters the portal and he's going to Georgia, right? That's a pretty good program, but he's going to go sit a year. He's not going to be starting. Are we really going to act like that NIL deal from Florida really helped him out? No, it didn't. It is hurting the sport. It is hurting the players. With this salary, we no longer have the terrible plan of having players not be paid at all. That's just terrible. That way we can have them being paid, every single one getting paid, and then on top of that, we can finally do what NIL was intended for, and that was name, image, and likeness, not pay for play. Name, image, and likeness, NIL, not pay for play. I said that twice to reiterate how important it is to make it what it was intended for. That is it for now. That is my rant about college football revenue sharing. I hope this gets fixed in the future. I really, really, really hope that someone out there listens to this and thinks, hey, that's a good idea. That is my dream. Someone that's important enough to say that this is a good idea can say this is a good idea. But for now, that is it. Until the next time I decide I want to record a podcast, this has been Scoring from the 50, and I will catch you guys next time.